Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Sethum, and in this beginner's guide I am going to show you everything you need to know about playing Ark. This particular game has been out for quite some time now, and as such there are many tutorials and guides on how to play Ark. However, since those guides have been made, many things have changed in the form of the interface as well as creatures being added that weren't initially in the game when those tutorials were made. So if you enjoyed the video or find it useful, please don't forget to support me by hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and check out some of my other games on the channel. Who knows, you might just enjoy them. The first thing that we're going to have a look at is the options. So in this menu you can customize your video options as well as the sound options. I am briefly going to show you what options you have here and what you can customize, and it is advisable that you do some customization so that you can get the best performance out of the game, as this does require quite a beefy computer. Here you can also see the key bindings as well as the controller buttons and what they do for the people that like to play PC games with a controller. Okay, with this done, next we're going to have a look at host/local. So this is for people that want to either host a server on their own computer and play with friends, or play locally, which is pretty much another way of saying single player. Here you can customize all the options for the game, such as the amount of dinos that you will have on the map, how fast the resources will spawn, and so on. On the next tab you have advanced settings for those that want to fiddle around with the settings of their own game, and you can use the specific tab to further customize your gaming experience on the game. And in the next tab that is titled anagrams, these are anagrams that are allowed in the game, so you can change what anagrams will be allowed in the game. These are pretty much skills, and I'd recommend that you do not mess around with these as they are fine the way they are. In the middle section you can choose the map that you want to play, and it will show you the maps that the game currently has in it, or host a local gameplay, which pretty much means that your computer will also run the game as well as act as a server. On the right side you have two lists. The top one shows the mods that are currently active with the game, and the bottom one shows the mods that are installed with the game but are not active. Mods can be found in the Steam workshop and can be downloaded onto your game, and you can activate them or deactivate them as you wish by selecting the mod that you wish to activate or deactivate and pressing the arrow keys above the box that lists the mods. For the people that don't want to play locally or in a single player, you can join a hosted server, and to find the servers just click on join Ark. There you will get a list of servers. Currently what you are seeing are my preferred servers. 3 of them are my own specific servers, which are private servers. However, you can customize what type of servers you want to search for depending on your preferences. By clicking on this drop list you can select the type of server that you are looking for, and you can find several types of servers, including official servers as well as privately owned servers. With the official servers you know that there will be no cheating. However, on privately owned servers some admins might spawn in things for themselves and their friends. On official servers you can find quite a few people, however sometimes they can be quite crowded and the community on that server may not necessarily be friendly. From this list you can find the 2 main types of servers, and those are PvE, which means player versus environment, and PvP. On PvE servers, players cannot attack each other, however that does not mean that people cannot grief each other, whereas on PvP the game is focused a lot around on player versus player, so that means players can attack each other and you can get alpha tribes that go around wiping smaller tribes. If you have ever played the game before at some point in the past off the same account and have forgotten where you have created your survivor, you can locate all of the survivors that you have ever created in the game by selecting my survivors out of this particular list. Next, I am going to have a look at the unofficial servers. Now these are servers that are owned by people such as myself and others such as yourself, and these are servers that will be up as long as a person pays for the hosting service. On the left side you can see an eye icon. That means that Battle Eye is active, and that is a small application that prevents players from cheating. Under the player tab you will see the amount of players that are currently active at the time that you are searching out of the maximum capacity that the server can host. Under the mode tab you will be able to see if that particular server is either a PvE or a PvP server. When searching for a server, it is important to search for a server that has a low ping. That means that there is a lower latency between your computer and the server, so that is the communication speed, which will increase your gaming experience. Also, you might want to consider looking for a server that has no more than half of its maximum capacity filled up, because if you join a server that has a high player count, you may at times struggle to log in, especially at peak times, which can in turn be quite frustrating. Okay, with all that being said and done, it's time for us to log on to the game, and for this I am going to use my own private server, which I have dedicated for this particular tutorial and series. Once your game has loaded, you will be presented with a character creation screen if this is the first time you've played, and as you can see on top of my character creation screen I have a message that says that I died. That is because this is the second time that I am making this recording, as in the first recording the game crashed and I had already created a character and I wanted to include this in the tutorial. So as you've seen, you can select the gender, you can select the skin color, or you can press on the dice to randomize your character. However, I personally don't like this because the characters look like mutants. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to completely customize my character and I'm going to make him look less like a mutant. I'm happy with the skin color. I want him to have a white hair color and I'm going to give him red eyes because hey, why not? I do like the color red and that'll be a nice detail. So normally the sliders tend to be all on the middle, and that is what the character looks like without any mutant like features. So I'm going to start by placing my sliders on the middle, and then I will customize certain features that I want to customize. As this is a survival game, I am going to make my character a bit beefy because hey, he needs to survive, he needs to be a tough guy. So I am going to fiddle around with all of these sliders, which you can see what they do. While I am going to make my character look fairly human and normal, you can choose to make your character look however way you want. That is up to you. I personally prefer my characters to look as normal as possible, albeit on the muscly side, as this is a survival game and I think that a muscly character fits the profile. So you can see that we're going to fiddle with the torso and he's already beginning to look a lot better. I'm going to fiddle with everything, and as I said before, normally when you start out in the character creation screen, the sliders tend to be on the middle, and that is my point of reference in terms of where I want my sliders. I'm going to give him some decent size hands and arms because he's going to be doing a lot of lifting and maybe a lot of fighting as well. So I don't want him to have those biceps the size that he did. I'm going to make them smaller. I'm going to give him slightly larger arms. That looks a lot better right there. And we are now down on the legs. I don't really want him to have legs that long. Just because you give him long legs in the character creation screen does not mean he can run faster. And I think that to me looks pretty normal. He kind of looks just like I do. Big, strong and muscly. So I'm happy with that. I do think his hair is a bit dark, so I kind of want to give him white hair, as he looks a bit wiser that way when it starts growing out. So let's find the white color. I think that's good enough. Yep, I'm happy with that. So now you can select the spawn region. This is what the map looks like, and I'm gonna go through some of these spawn regions to show you guys where you will spawn. When you select a spawn region, it will highlight on the map the location that you will spawn, and that is just a generic location. You can spawn anywhere within the highlighted area. The further north you choose to spawn, the more difficult it will become. So, for the purposes of this tutorial, I am going to recommend spawning somewhere on the south area, and I've highlighted the area with my mouse. I am going to choose the easiest zone, and I'm going to name my character after me, and that is Sethum. I'm happy with all the settings, so I will click on Create Character. And once you've done that, you will get a nice little cutscene showing you that you are spawning into the world. And it's nice that recently the devs have considered the players, and that whilst the animation is taking place, players cannot be attacked by wild dinos, which is quite a recent thing, as during the duration of the animation you cannot perform any tasks, and in the past you used to spawn around wild dinos that would attack players, and you couldn't do anything to defend yourself and you would end up dying, which would make the game quite frustrating, especially for new players. At the bottom of the screen you can see a hotbar. There you can allocate specific weapons or tasks, and on the right you can see a hand icon. That means I've got nothing in my hand. Below that there's an arrow which symbolizes which will fill up as I gain XP. Below that there's a drop that symbolizes water and food. There's also a lightning bolt that symbolizes the stamina, and as I perform tasks my stamina will drain. And below that there's a cross which symbolizes my health. You can open up your inventory by pressing I, and you will see that you have certain items. Those are just particular skins, and if you go into crafting, those are items that you can already craft, and once you hover your mouse above them you will see what you need to craft those items. And as you can see, each craftable item requires specific items to be crafted. You can also toggle the information bubble by pressing the letter G on the keyboard, or you can press the bubble at the upper right corner. There you have a selection for folders as well as some other options for your inventory. And I'm going to go into my inventory. I don't want any of these skins, so I'm going to select that option to get rid of everything in the inventory. On the next tab you have the engrams. These are your skills that you can learn as you level up. However, I suggest that you only choose the specific engrams that you will need. Next tab shows you your tribe. As I'm not part of a tribe, it asks me to create a tribe, which I'm happy to do that. In this corner you can see the governance and the tribe log, along with other tribe options that can be used by the owner or admins. In the next tab you can see the tame order groups that you have allocated to specific tames, and in the final tab you can see all the explorer notes that you have found or the ones that you are missing. The explorer notes can be found throughout the entire map, and normally when you find them you also gain a quick XP boost as well as learn a bit more about the lore of Ark. As Ark is a survival game, that means you will have to scavenge, gather and hunt for resources. This of course also means that when your character dies you will lose all your items, and when you respawn you need to find your character's previous body so that you can recover all of the items that you had previously on your character. Also, this means that in PvP other players can access your dead character's inventory and loot the items. When your character's water depletes, your character will get thirsty and you will need to drink water. You can do this by standing at the water's edge and pressing E. If you fail to do this over a long period, your character will die of dehydration and you may lose all the stuff that you had on your character. So let's start crafting some stuff. I'm going to pick up stones and I'm going to punch some wood to get some wood and thatch. Notice that because I've punched the wood, I have lost health. So that means my food will go down as it will be used to generate or reheal my health. I've got enough to craft a stone pick. That is going to help us get wood and thatch easier, as well as stone, flint and metal. You can craft certain things by either double clicking on it or hovering your mouse above the item that you want to craft and pressing E. Everything that you do in the game, even sitting in place, will earn you experience. Obviously, if you perform tasks such as cutting down trees, killing animals or crafting items, you will gain more XP. You can gather anything and everything that you see in the world. However, in order to gather, you need to holster your weapon, and you can do that by pressing the letter Q. Or alternately, you can press the number associated with the item in your hotbar. So I'm going to gather some of these berries, thatch, and fiber. By harvesting the bushes, I will get berries, fiber, and seeds. All of them will be useful, and I'm going to walk you through the seeds. Now, these are the mejo berries or mejo berries. They are quite useful for taming creatures. Stim berries are good for reducing torpor, but they will dehydrate you. Narco berries are good for knocking things out, crafting items, as well as keeping things knocked out. So do not eat these things. All the other berries are edible, and they will replenish your food. However, they won't do anything in terms of healing your character. You can eat food items from your inventory by hovering your mouse and pressing E, or you can just double click on the item, or alternately you can place the item on your hotbar and pressing the associated key with that item. Now let's take a couple of seconds to look at your character's starting stats, and when you gain a level, you will gain a point that you can allocate to a specific stat. I personally prefer to invest my points in health and weight, as I've personally not needed the use of any other stats. However, you can invest in whatever stat you think you'll need. Once you've chosen a point, you will get the anagram screen, and you can select the anagrams that you want. These are just another way of saying skills. These are skills that you or items that you will be able to craft in the game. You won't be able to get all the items even when you reach maximum level, so choose carefully what you want. For myself, I've chosen a spear, a hatchet, an item of clothing because that's what I had left, and a campfire which will allow us to cook meat. Now that I've got these skills and I can craft these items, I'm going to go and gather the materials that I need to craft these particular items. So that will mean I will need stone, flint, fiber, thatch, and wood. The round rocks around rivers will also give you stone, flint, and some metal. Not a lot, but that is good because we are gathering some metal and we can't carry a lot at this time anyways. Alright, so now I should be able to craft a hatchet, a campfire, and a hat. Once they're crafted, I'm going to show you the difference between a hatchet and a pick, as both will gather certain resources better than others. I'm just going to wait for them to craft, and when you craft, you will move slower than when you're not crafting an item. In the meantime, I'm just going to gather some more fiber and berries, as that will be our source of food for the moment. Also, by gathering the fiber, I will be able to craft some clothing, which will offer us some insulation against the elements. I'm going to equip my hatchet. I am also going to put some stimberries in my 0 slot, as this will be in case I bump into a Pegomastax. These are annoying creatures that will want to rob you, and they tend to rob whatever is in your 0 hotbar, or if there isn't anything in your 0 hotbar, they will rob something random out of your inventory. I've learned some new skills, so I am going to craft some more items of clothing. So I'm going to go for the pants and the shirt. Once they have finished crafting, I will then equip them. You can equip by dragging and dropping, or you can hover the mouse above the item and press E. I'm also going to put my campfire in the hotbar down below, and as you can see, I can also craft a torch that is good to keep us warm as well as offer light at night. I'm going to put that there, and I am going to place my campfire in my hotbar, which I want to access later on when I need to cook some meat. At the moment, I do not have any meat, so therefore I'm not going to place it down. Before me, or just in front of me, you can see a bird. That is another irritating creature. You want to stay away because that will also rob you of things. Unlike the Pegomastax, if you catch the Pegomastax and kill it within a certain time, you can recover your stuff. Whereas with that bird, you will not be able to recover it because it destroys the item that it loots off of your character. So I'm going to show you the difference between a hatchet and a pick in different circumstances. So as you can see, when using a pick on stone, you'll gather more flint and a little bit of stone. I'm going to do that again. You may gather some metal as well. However, when you use a hatchet, you will gather more stone and a little bit of flint and almost no metal. I'm going to try and use these on a tree. As you can see, with a hatchet I gather a lot more wood than thatch. However, if I use a pick on a tree, I will gather more thatch than wood. At the moment I am encumbered, so I'm going to drop some items. I do recommend that you save up as many items because everything has a use specifically and especially at the beginning of the game. So I'm going to use a pick. As you can see, I got more thatch than I did wood. So I'm going to continue gathering some more of these materials because I will need them to repair my items if they do break, as all items in Ark do have a durability bar, and when it runs out they will break. That means you will need to repair them. I am also going to craft a handful of spears. I suggest at the beginning you don't craft too many of these as they do tend to be quite heavy, but by crafting them you do have some form of defense. I'm going to equip these on my third action bar as that is more comfortable for me to reach. And I'm going to make my way on the other side of this water. Now when you are going to traverse water, do be careful. Try and find the shallowest point, as in rivers and waters you will find mega piranha, which can make short work of a new player. And as I said before, if you die you will lose all of your stuff on your character and you'll have to spawn somewhere random on the map and make your way back to your previous body to recover your stuff. I am going to find a good location to set up a first time base. This is going to be a temporary base, and on my way there I've seen a creature that I want to hunt. Now this is a dillo. It is quite a common creature, so I'm going to use my spear and I'm going to show you how to avoid its attacks. Once you have engaged the dillo, you will want to move to the side, so that is either left or right, as when it opens up its thrill it will spit a poison or ink at you which will blind you, and you can avoid that attack by simply moving to the left or the right. Now that the dillo is dead, I am going to harvest it. I'm going to use the pick, and with the pick I am going to get more meat, whereas with the hatchet you will get more hide. Both are useful, and when the meat spoils, do not throw that away because you can use that to create narcotics, which I will show you how to do later in the video. I found a dodo. Now this is a fairly harmless creature, however I want to hunt it for its meat and its hide. This time around I'm going to use the hatchet. Although I won't get very much hide out of it, I still get a significant amount, and every little bit adds up. So later on we'll be able to craft either a sleeping bag or a bed, alongside many other items in the game that will require hide as an ingredient. The spear does also have two functions. It does have a throw function, and that is by pressing and holding right click you can aim, and when you release the right click it will throw the spear. If you walk across where the spear has landed, you will recover the spear, and you can attack with the primary function of the spear by pressing left click. So let's go and try this out on another creature. I've seen a dillo, so I'm going to throw a spear at it. That got its attention. I'm going to move to the side to avoid the spit, and I'm just going to jab it in the face. When you are hunting, you will want to try and hit creatures in the face, and you will also notice that these spears do break, which is why I've crafted a couple of spears. You'll know when the Dilophosaurus is about to spit, as it makes a sound before it opens up its thrill, after which it will spit, and as you've seen it is quite easily avoidable by moving to the left or the right. Once again, I am going to harvest this creature for its meat and hide. I will most likely get more meat than I need, however I am going to get this meat and wait for it to spoil so that I can use it to craft narcotics. I am going to build my base around this area as it is in a area close to water. It is fairly flat and I do have access to all the stuff that I need. So as my hunger is starting to go down, I'm going to put a campfire down. I am going to put some wood and some meat. You can put items in either by dragging it or by hovering your mouse and clicking on it. Alternately, you can put stacks of 5 down by holding down shift and double clicking on the item. With all those things in, I am going to turn the fire on and wait for it to cook as I gather other stuff to set up my base. Okay, so I have just leveled up. I'm going to put that point into health, and then I'm going to start building the thatch foundation, or actually learning the anagram for the thatch foundation and the thatch wall. And that is all of the anagram points that I can use. I currently have 2 available, which is not enough to get. So I'm going to save them up for the next time that I level up, as they might come in handy. In the meantime, I am going to gather wood, thatch, and fiber so I can start crafting the thatch structures. In order to craft thatch structures, you will need a lot of thatch, some wood, and some fiber. So at this point, I'm just going to spend some time gathering some resources. I'm also going to gather some flint, as later on I will need to repair or craft more spears, and as I level up I will need the flint to either turn into spark powder or craft stone arrows. So at this first phase, I'm going to go around gathering all the stuff that I can. Just as I showed you before, you can harvest the bushes and pick up the stones off the beach by pressing E when you are above them. I'm just going to run around and grab some stuff. And now I'm going to open up my inventory. I'm going to go into crafting. I'm going to craft some foundations. You can double click to craft a foundation or press A to craft all. So that will mean it will use all the current available resources in your inventory to craft the maximum amount of items out of the available resources. So whilst these are crafting, I'm just going to hang around here and wait for them to finish. And once I have a decent amount of number, I am going to drag them into my hotbar. And in order to place down an item or a structure, just press the button associated with the structure. I am going to try and place down my foundations somewhere where it is fairly level. I want it to be as level as possible so that I can snap the other foundations onto the foundation that I placed down. So I think around here. Now, as this is a private server only available to myself and close friends, I don't really have to worry about where I'm building, and the entire map is my oyster. It is also a PvE server, so I'm not bothered about hiding. However, if you are going to play on a PvP server, you will want to find a very hidden spot so that you will not get raided by bigger tribes. When you're starting out, especially on PvP, I suggest you make a smaller structure, so a 4x4 is just good enough, as this will be a spot for us to shelter ourselves from the elements, as well as a respawn point for when we die once we have placed down sleeping bags or a bed. And finally, you can also drag anagrams into your hotbar so that you can craft items on the go, and they will become highlighted once you have enough items for that specific item that you want to craft. So I'm currently gathering some resources to craft some walls, which I will then place on my foundations. Once I have enough items to craft the walls, I will press the hotkey associated with the item in the slot that I've chosen. I've also leveled up, so I am going to invest a point in weight because I want to carry more things. I am going to learn the bed and the door and doorway anagrams. That will allow me to craft a door and a doorway, so that will be our point of entry into the structure that we are building. I'm going to craft the door and doorway first because they require fewer resources. Afterwards, I am going to craft all the walls that I can out of the resources that I've gathered. Whilst that's going on, I'm going to go towards the little structure that I have started crafting or building. And I'm going to access my inventory, drag the doorway into my hotbar as well as the door, and I will place them down. You do so by pressing the key that is associated with that item, and if you've seen just then, there is a blue color. That means you are looking at the inside of the structure, and if it's green, you're looking at the outside of the structure that you are about to place down. So I'm going to put down the walls that I've just crafted, and that should be our little hut. As you've seen there, there's a blue and there's a green. Blue means it's on the inside, green means on the outside. Obviously, I am going to want to make my hut a little bit bigger, so I'm going to demolish this. You do this by pressing and holding E and hovering the mouse above the demolish until the marker has filled up. Time to pick up some food. I'm going to get the cooked meat, put it in my inventory, and you eat it the same way as you did with the berries. You can eat it by hovering your mouse over it and pressing E, or double clicking on it. Alternately, you can place it in your hotbar and press the hotkey associated with it when you need to eat. Okay, so now that I have gathered some more resources, I have expanded my foundations, and it's now time to place down some more walls. After I have built my structure to a decent height, I will then place down the ceilings. If you are on a PvP server, one wall tall is enough, as you do want to be concealed at first. However, this is a PvE server, so I am going to build 2 tall, as it feels less claustrophobic. I believe this should be enough space for all the stuff that I'm going to place in it, so I'm going to fully enclose it once I have crafted all the walls. And there we go. So I'm just going to wait for this final wall to craft, which I will place above the door. With that done, I'm going to go out again and gather some more resources to finish off the second layer of walls. There's a dodo right there, which I am going to hunt because it is easy to do. It's a harmless creature. I'm going to try and aim for its head as much as possible, but as you can see, it does do a knockback effect. Now that it's down, I am going to harvest it. I'm going to use the axe. Oh, I don't like that noise. That is a Pelagornis, and that is the bird I showed you earlier on in the video. That is the one that robs stuff off of you, and you never get to see it again because it destroys it. So now I am going to be very cautious, as I do not want to get seen by that creature, because once it has got me in its sight, it is going to be a damn hard job to get rid of, and it will continue robbing me of stuff. So I'm just kind of trying to guess where it is. I am going to need to craft a storage box. I'm going to go into my inventory. I put another point. I've learned the anagram for it. We've got 3 more points. I'm going to invest in, well, there's nothing really that I want at the moment, so I'm just having a look. Next thing we're going to be looking at later on is making a mortar and pestle and narcotics, but at the moment I need to get resources to build the storage box so that I can store my stuff in case I upset the Pelagornis or die. Okay, now that I've got enough items to craft the storage box, I'm going to craft one for now. I will craft another one later on, as there is not a lot of storage space. When you hover your mouse above an item, you can see what items you require, and if you press the H key, you can hover the little bubble which I've just shown you. I just wanted to have a quick look at what I need for a sleeping bag, as although I have built a small base, I cannot respawn in it if I do die unless I place down a sleeping bag or a bed. A sleeping bag is a one use only, and once you've respawned, it destroys the sleeping bag, whereas a bed, you can respawn in it multiple times. However, it does have a cooldown timer. So I'm going to place all the heavy items in the storage box. I'm going to place the berries because they are quite heavy. I'm also going to place some of the seeds and other stuff as well later on. I mean, at the moment, seeds are not that important. I can get quite a few by gathering, as I will be gathering quite a lot of resources. And just before you heard a bit of a little tune, that means nighttime has come, and in my lower right corner you see an ice cube. That means it is cold and I am freezing. When you do get the ice cube, which means hypothermia, you will start losing health. As you can see, I am nearly dead, so I'm gonna set up a campfire. I'm gonna also put some meat in it and I will light it. Once I've lit it, you've seen that the ice cube turned into a snowflake, which means I am still cold. However, I am not freezing, and so therefore I will start healing at the cost of food. So I'm gonna wait here for a while. I'm going to craft some more walls. And whilst that is crafting, I'm just going to sit next to the fire, which will hopefully help me heal a little bit. So as I've leveled up again, I have just invested one of my points. I can now learn the ceiling anagram, which I will start crafting in a little bit. I'm going to drag the anagram into my hotbar. I'm going to place it there because I'm finished with all the other bits. You can drag the anagrams that you finished out of your hotbar like so, and that removes the anagram. At the moment I only need the ceilings. I have enough walls and I've got enough health to place down the last two walls. I'm going to sit next to the fire and wait for day to come and hopefully finish off my little hut. So I'll see you folks in a little bit, or I will come back if I do gain another level. Okay, so I have gathered all the resources I needed. I have finished putting up the ceilings as well as crafted another storage box. By doing so, I've gained 2 levels, which I'm going to invest in health and weight. And this time around, I am going to learn the slingshot. That's good for knocking out creatures. I'm going to unlock the bed. As I said, this has multiple uses rather than the sleeping bag, and it only requires a little bit more hide than the sleeping bag. So next thing that I will want to learn will be the mortar and pestle, the spark powder, as well as the narcotics. Earlier you saw me invest my points in the sleeping bag, and now I've just invested it in the bed. However, it is a requirement to know the sleeping bag anagram in order to be able to learn the bed, so those points are not wasted. And as I said before, next time around I will look at investing in a mortar and pestle and learning how to make the spark powder as well as the narcotics, which we will use later on in a later episode, in which I will show you how to tame creatures. So I'm going to go and gather some more resources and I'll see you folks in a bit. Alright, so now I am returning back to my little hut. After a successful hunting trip, I have killed many creatures and gathered their meat and hide. I have also leveled up in the process of doing that. So I have gained 2 levels, which I will invest in health and carry weight. And as you've seen, I've got some spoiled meat. Do not throw that away as it will be needed. So I'm going to learn the mortar and pestle, spark powder, and narcotic. And I am going to learn the wooden club. This is a melee weapon that applies torpor, so that means we can knock out creatures at close range. So with that being said, and then the next things that I want to learn will be the bola, bow, and stone arrow. So it's now time to craft our bed and place it down. So we'll craft it just like any other item before. We'll need some more hide for the mortar and pestle, which we will go and get after I have placed down my bed. So I've dragged it into my inventory. I'm going to find a location. I'm going to place it down like so. And now I have a spawn point in the hut. I'm going to drop all the stuff that weigh me down. Also, while I'm going out on the hunting trip, I am going to drop off some of this meat just in case I die. I don't want to lose it. Okay, so I've returned from another hunting trip where I've gathered some more hide and meat. So I'm going to craft some mortar and pestles. And this time around I'm crafting 2. I'm trying to find where I put the meat. I'm going to get the stone out of the lock box, or I mean storage box. So that should be enough for 2. and by crafting them I have leveled up again. I'm going to go and place them down somewhere out of the way. So I'm going to drag them into my hotbar, press the key associated with the item, and find a good place to place them down. Now preferably you will want to build several of these, as you can craft multiple things at the same time, which also give you a good XP. So I'm going to look for the meat. That's what I've got at the moment. Now I want the meat to spoil, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the stacks. You can do this by holding down shift and then just dragging the item. If it is in a stack, it will split it halfway or approximate it. So if there's a stack of 5, it will do a stack of 2 and 3. By splitting it, as you can see, the meat on top, or the item on top, has the same spoil timer, but that timer also passes on to the item below. So effectively what I'm doing is I'm making the meat spoil faster. While I'm waiting for the meat to spoil in my inventory, I've come out to gather some more stone and flint, which I am going to place in the mortar and pestles to make spark powder. Spark powder is used both as a fuel for fire, as well as it will be used as an element which will make the preserving bin run. And in the preserving bin you'll be able to put most of your perishables, which will make them last longer. As these are being crafted in the mortar and pestle, I am also gaining experience, so I'm going to put in the spoiled meat with the narco berries that I've saved up. So I will remove the narco berries out of this bin. I will go and put it in the second mortar and pestle. I just wanted to check what I've got in the second box. Once I've done that, I am going to craft some narcotic. However, I have gained another level and I want to see what I'm going to invest it in next. Now, one thing we will need at some point in the future is a cooking pot. However, it is not necessary at this current time. I do think that a bow and arrow are both a necessity, so let's go and invest that point. I will go and put it in weight, and now I've got 17 points, and so that means I'm going to craft, or actually learn, the bow anagram as well as the stone arrow anagram. So that means I can now craft a bow and stone arrows, and that offers me the ability to fight my enemies and hunt creatures at a range. So you want to go out of the box that it shows you, then go into the drug and craft narcotics. In order to craft narcotics, you will need spoiled meat and narco berries. So I'm going to get some wood. I think I'll need some wood to craft. Oh, that Pelagornis is keeping me on edge. You will need wood, thatch, fiber, and flint in order to craft the bow and arrows. So I'm going to go and gather these materials, and I'll see you folks in a little bit. Okay, so I'm back in my hut. I have gathered all the items that I need for crafting a bow and an arrow, or bow and multiple arrows, better said. I'm going to go and get the wood out of my storage box, and that should be enough to craft one bow, and I'm going to use the rest of the materials to craft arrows. I'm going to wait for these things to craft, and afterwards I will go on a hunting spree, and I will show you folks how to hunt with the bow and arrows and how to hunt big game safely and effectively. Once your bow has been crafted, you can drag and drop it in your action bar. So I'm going to drop it next to the torch, but I want it closer to the spears, so I've just moved it on top of the torch once it was in the action bar, and as you've seen, they swapped places. Also, once you've equipped the bow and have arrows in your inventory, you don't need to do anything, as once you take your bow out, you will automatically use the arrows. While waiting for day to come, I have gained another level, so I am going to craft some more arrows just to be on the safe side. These are stuff and resources that I have gathered additionally, And I'm going to learn the bola anagram. Now bolas can be used to immobilize small creatures, anything up to and including a parasaur. Parasaur being the biggest creature that you can immobilize. It will not work on certain creatures such as turtles, but this is a thing that will come with experience. Alternately, you can use the bola as a defense to either stop players or creatures in their tracks, such as raptors, which are aggressive, as well as dilos. So if you use a bola on a creature or a player, it will hold them in place, and that gives you a chance to run away. Now that we are ready, it is time to go and do some hunting, and whilst we are outside, you can see that it's raining. Whilst you are stood outside in the rain, your character will rehydrate. However, it is at a cost, and that is you will be cold. As you can see, I have a snowflake, and that normally tends to happen at night whilst you're stood next to a campfire, so do be careful, as if you are in a colder region, you might end up hurting your character due to hypothermia. Now I have picked on a triceratops, which is now chasing me. I do not want it to hit me, as it does a fairly decent knockback and a good amount of damage, so I'm going to get it stuck between the rock and that tree. As you can see, it's pretty much got itself stuck, and it's now time to take it down. If you hit a trike in the head, due to its drill and horns, it will take reduced damage, so you need to hit the torso. On official servers, you will not see the damage numbers. However, I have enabled it for this particular tutorial and server so that you can see the difference. So that was a hit that landed on its head. So I'm going to try and hit its body, and there is the difference. That is a significant difference right there. So I'm going to adjust my position so that I can hit the body and do as much damage, as by doing more damage I will use up less arrows, which in turn means less resources wasted. You will know that a creature is nearly dead from two factors. One, it will get very bloody, so that is a visual cue. And two, most creatures when they are low on health will want to run away despite them being aggressive. Also, you can recover your arrow by standing on top of them, or some of your arrows. It doesn't always work, as you've just seen there. So I'm going to harvest this trike. As you can see, I've got a decent amount of hide and meat, so I'm gonna go and search for another creature. So I'll see you folks when I find something to hunt. Well, what do you know, not far from that trike there is a turtle. This time around we will want to hit the head, because if you hit the body due to its shell, it will take reduced damage. Unlike the trike, the turtle is quite easy to hunt. And as you can see, I am just moon stepping. I'm not even bothered about running because it is that slow. There we go, that shot was on its body, and you've seen the difference in damage. So I'm just going to continue shooting arrows in its face whilst moonstepping. And as you can see, the turtle is aggressive, so it is following me with the intention of attacking me. And once it comes to a low amount of health, you will see that it will want to run away. So it shouldn't have too much. Now you can see that it is getting quite bloody. Okay, it's nearly dead. I think it is still focused on me at the moment. Yes, it is. And there we go. There's the cue. That's it. It's nearly dead because it's wanting to run away. Hopefully this time around I get to show you what it looks like when you recover your arrows. My bow has broken. It's alright. I've got spears, so I'll just poke it in the butt. Okay, that is that. It's time to harvest it, but before I do harvest it, actually I want to go and get the arrows. And as you can see, you can hear the noise, and you can see that I have recovered some of my arrows. I am going to repair my items that are broken due to durability, and you can do that by pressing the key associated with the item in the hotbar. And you can only repair the items if you have the materials in your inventory. So this time around, I'm going to show you how to hunt a parasaur. Now this is a skittish creature, and once hit, it will want to run away. This is where the bola comes in handy. So you click and hold down the left mouse button to spin the bola, release it to throw the bola. So now we are going to switch to the bow and arrow and aim for the head. Oh well, it died pretty quick. So let's pick up the arrows. I didn't want to pick up the arrows. I am going to once again harvest it, as I want the meat and the hide. Okay, so after my little hunting trip, I went on another gathering trip, and this time around I gathered thatch, wood and fiber, and what I couldn't carry I stored in my storage box. So now I am going to replace some of my structures, and that is I'm going to replace my thatch structures with wooden structures. So let's have a look at the engrams. I've learned the wooden foundation. I'm going to learn the wall and the ceiling. I have crafted some wooden foundations, and you can place it by placing it underneath. So you place it just like you did with the thatch foundation, and you should see a highlight underneath the thatch. When you place it, it will replace and break the thatch foundation. At the same time, you will get some of the materials that the thatch foundation was made out of back into your inventory. I'm going to get some more wood out, and now I am going to craft some walls, and I'm going to replace the thatch walls with wood, and by doing this you will make your structure a bit more sturdier, as most creatures in the game are able to damage thatch, and larger creatures can damage thatch quite easily. So I am going to wait a little bit to have some items crafted, and when I think I have enough, I will start replacing, and I will replace them just as I did with the foundations. Remember, blue is for the inside, green is for the outside. Some people don't care about this, but I do like things to look nice, and if I'm going to build a base, even a temporary base as this is, I still want it to look nice and aesthetic. So I'm going to get some more wood out. I'm going to get as much as I can carry, and I will craft some more wooden walls, which I will use to do the same and replace the thatch walls. I will also do that for the ceiling once I am finished, and that gives us a sturdy little hut or temporary base depending on how you want to look at it. Alright, time to close up shop. That is it for this first walkthrough, guide or tutorial, however you want to call it, and that is how you play Ark. Join me in the next video where I will show you how to tame dinos, and we will be going through a variety of dinos, and the next video will be much shorter than this, as in this first one we covered all the basics. If you found this video useful and enjoyed it, please don't forget to support me by hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and why not go and check out some of my other gaming videos. I also do other sorts of games, and if you find yourself enjoying them, you can support me and those videos by hitting that like button and leaving a comment. Until next time, stay safe folks.